Chapter 916, A Sheer Fantasy. That's rather interesting, commented Tang Xiu with a faint look that was both a smile and not. It's not the only interesting fact, I tell you, continued Miao Wentong with a forced smile. The Lian family has been acting low profile all these years, so inconspicuous that it feels abnormal. I've tried to send people to investigate them, and guess what results I got? Those men I sent were like stones who have drowned on the ocean floor. No news, no messages, nobody was known alive, and I can't even see their corpses. So, you haven't figured out the Lian family's situation either, then, commented Tang Xiu calmly. Miao Wentong took a deep breath and answered, I already have since I did the investigation myself many times. I was finally sure that they are very abnormal and wicked. Members of this family have never known how come their ancestors are still able to live until today. Even the oldest ones have been living for over 260 years. However, these ancestors rarely go out and are even seldom in their ancestral hall either. That's indeed very bizarre and wicked, they can be described as evils. Tang Xiu nodded and said, Nevertheless, I've already killed the Lian's patriarch, along with their 2 ancestors and more than 20 experts. Hence, I decided to come to Ning City to eradicate this ominous tumor. Miao Wentong's eyes turned wide in but a moment, a look of disbelief filling his face. Miao Fengling was tongue-tied and dumbstruck while staring silly at Tang Xiu. The Lian family's patriarch, Lian Bai, is dead? Miao Wentong gulped down and asked with a shocked face, Brother Tang, what exactly happened between you and the Lians? How come you have a conflict with them? I had no grudge with them whatsoever before this incident. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, but I happened to encounter a group of people from the occult sect a few days ago. They have a blood feud with the Lians, and I originally didn't have the intention to meddle in the feud. However, the Lian family's ancestor unleashed a ghost device to devour the souls of all the killed people. And from them, I learned that this ghost device is called 9 fetuses of 100 ghosts streamer. Additionally, I learned that there's a total of 9 of them. A ghost device, one that can devour souls? Miao Wentong was so astonished that he asked, there are still such evil weapons in this world? I never thought that it would exist before either. Tang Xiu nodded and continued, only after I discovered the 9 fetuses of 100 ghost streamer was I finally aware that such ghost devices still truly exist. For every streamer, if they want to fully refine it, they should need 77,490 souls to devour. Then, they need to torture these souls for many years, and eventually turn them into vengeful spirits without sentience, becoming an energy full of resentment, no less. So damn evil. Miao Wentong's heartbeat spiked up, along with his fury that was evident his face. Tang Xiu nodded and said, I wouldn't have given a damn care if those who were killed by the Lians were guilty people who deserved their punishment, but they even murdered ordinary people. It turns out that calamity has reached the center of the pond, and I still don't know how many innocents have met a tragic end in their hands either. I think the people you've sent to investigate them should have probably met their doom like this as well. Say what? Miao Wentong was so flushed red that he abruptly got up from the sofa. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he said, Brother Tang, now I finally understand why the Lians have so many of their ancestors still living, as well as why I always feel something is bizarre and wicked about them. Are these bastards not afraid of the retribution from karma and the heavenly Tao? The Lian family has fallen into a diabolical demonic path, sneered Tang Xiu. Miao Wentong inhaled deeply and said with a deep voice, Brother Tang, had I not known about this fact, my family cannot easily have a blood feud with the Lians. But now, we must eradicate them so as to destroy those wicked ghost devices. What are you planning next then, Brother Tang? My family will fully cooperative. How many cultivators does your family have, exactly, asked Tang Xiu after pondering for a moment. Only I, answered Miao Wentong with a forced smile. You're already a cultivator back when we first met, why would your family still only have 1 cultivator? Asked Tang Xiu with a puzzled face. Why don't you teach them the cultivation technique too? It's a custom set by our ancestors that my family must always have only one person to practice it, the patriarch of each generation, explained Miao Wendong. Also, the main reason is the concern of infighting and internal competition for power and authority, which will ruin the fraternal brotherhood. Tang Xiu quickly understood as he nodded and said, "Your cultivation is already high enough, and you still have much room for improvement in the future. You should break this established custom if possible, since I think you have good family members, especially when you're at the helm here. I'm sure that there won't be big problems arising in the future. You told me that I'm not allowed to impart the cultivation technique to others back when you taught me the more profound technique." "So," Miao Wendong hesitantly said. "I didn't know the nature of your other family members before, so I naturally didn't want a large number of cultivators to appear," said Tang Xiu. "Now I have changed my mind, yet my original intention still remains. You can impart to the members of your family who have good aptitude, but not too many of them. You must know that once you cultivate to a certain realm, you'll need massive cultivation resources, and I don't think your family can support much more than 10 cultivators at a profound cultivation realm given the wealth possessed by your family now." Miao Wentong's complexion slightly changed and he fell into contemplation for a while. Then he said, "I'll pick a few good family members and teach them cultivation technique since you say so. I can change the customs set by my ancestors, but I'll also re-establish a new rule that the number of cultivators in my family must not exceed 10 people." Tang Xiu nodded with approval and said again, "All right. So, how about having a visit to the Lien family's place tonight?" "You mean, hitting them directly?" asked Miao Wendong with a slightly changed expression. "No. We should know ourselves and our own enemy better to be victorious." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "I may have absolute confidence in myself, yet many things have gone down the pit due to some erroneous judgment in this world. Hence, we're only going to investigate the Lien family in the dark so as to figure out their strength before we hit them." "You're always so calm and steady, but it's what makes you fearful, Brother Tang," sighed Miao Wendong. "If I had fearful strength and so many powerful men under me like you, I'm afraid I'd already had become an unscrupulous and reckless man. Anyway, I got no problem with the idea, so let's set off to the Lien family's place tonight. One does have to be prudent when making a ship that could last for millenniums. Current society is quite peaceful and there's only a small factor of risk and dangers involved in everything. But if you go to another place one day in the future, where cultivators are everywhere and strong people are as many as clouds, you'll only last for a few days and will die should you not be careful," said Tang Xiu with a smile. Miao Wendong was shaken and asked, "Where's that place?" "I can't tell you since you won't benefit by knowing it now." Tang Xiu waved his hand and said, "Just keep cultivating well. Someday when you have become much stronger and have surpassed the nascent soul stage, I can tell you about that and even give you a huge opportunity." "All right." Miao Wendong was shocked on the inside and he nodded with excitement. Before dawn came, Tang Xiu took Miao Wendong and quietly left the Miao family's manor, leaving Shuiyu and Moao's group there. This time, they were heading out to gather intel, so he didn't want to bring too many people. The Lien family's land was a much bigger area than that of the Miaos. It was not located inside Ning City, but in the northwestward area of the city near Qilian Mountain. In addition to the wide flat road on the southern side of the residence with a village there, the 3 other directions were densely forested land. Amid the dim night, Tang Xiu and Miao Wendong were as though ghosts in darkness as they were silently closing in on the Lien family's manor. Tang Xiu didn't even flinch as he had already seen numerous traps and guards hiding in the corner. However, Miao Wendong, who rarely saw such a situation, kept spotting the hiding figures of Lien family's clansmen, as well as finding various types of traps and surveillance devices. "I truly never expected to find out about these." In a dark, hidden corner, Miao Wendong sighed as he looked at the 2.5-meter brick wall. "What did you never expect, exactly?" asked Tang Xiu in a whisper. I never thought that the current defensive measures prepared by the Lien family would be so strong, whispered Miao Wendong. I was here several years ago, but I didn't find anything out of ordinary. There had been no defensive measures at all. But now, when we just came closing in a few kilometers away, we had already discovered several guards and dozens of installed traps, as well as surveillance devices. I dare say that had the people who infiltrated this place tonight not been us, they likely would have long discovered who the infiltrators were. I too feel that the Lien family is very particular in this sense. Tang Xiu nodded and said, I'm suddenly regretting easily killing the Lien family's head a bit now. All the Lien family's ancestors are the most inner circle of this family. All of them had once served as the patriarch in the past. They are also the ones who know the Liens inside out. Had you tortured and squeezed out some information from him, you could have gotten a lot of useful intel. All right, let's go inside. Tang Xiu took out 2 invisibility charms. After placing one on Miao Wentong's body, his body floated and directly flew over the electric grid on the tall wall, then quickly entered the interior of Lien family's manor. Miao Wentong, however, was slightly startled when he saw Tang Xiu fly up and jump over in such an ostentatious manner. He couldn't help but inwardly shout. But then, he recalled how powerful Tang Xiu was, so he gritted his teeth and jumped over as well. As they came inside, a dense coverage of trees and planted flowers greeted them, as well as their flowery scent that wafted with the night wind and assailed their nostrils. Why did you sneak inside in such an ostentatious manner, Brother Tang? Questioned Miao Wendong with a low voice after following Tang Xiu. There was a forced smile on his face, however. Tang Xiu only gave him a faint smile in response. He didn't explain anything to him, but instead directly headed to the other side of the woods. Even on the edge of the woods, there were 2 men of the Lien family smoking there, and yet, he still waltzed in nonchalantly. What? Didn't he say that he'd come here to investigate? How come he just waltzed in so casually? Is he not afraid that he'll be discovered? Miao Wentong wanted to scream out loud to warn Tang Xiu, but the next scene made his eyes nearly pop out. It was because Tang Xiu walked right to the front of the 2 smoking men. He even halted his pace and waved to them with a beaming smile. It made Miao Wentong completely dumbfounded. Never once did it occur to him that he'd see such a bizarre scene. Tang Xiu obviously stopped right before those 2 members of Lien family, but they seemed to be unaware about him. They seemingly couldn't see him at all and just kept smoking and talking to each other. Damn it. This is beyond fantasy. Chapter 9:17, The Living Dead. The scene before him was so bizarre that Miao Wendong was extremely shocked. He suddenly recalled the paper charm Tang Xiu placed on him outside the courtyard wall. He grabbed the item and observed it for a while only to find some unusual symbols on it. He could even sense a faint fluctuation of spiritual force on it. Don't tell me, this is an invisibility charm? An item that can make one who wears it invisible to others? Miao Wendong himself knew that Tang Xiu also excelled at making various charms. It made his heartbeat spike up immediately. He gritted his teeth and walked toward Tang Xiu's direction and the 2 big men of Lien family. He kept walking to Tang Xiu's side while his eyes were fixed on the 2 stocky men, yet they still seemed to be unaware of their presence. Cough, cough. One of the stocky men coughed twice. He suddenly glanced around a few times before he raised his hand to scratch the back of his head. With a puzzled expression, he muttered, "How come I feel so spooked and scared? It's like I'm being stared at by a venomous viper or something." His comrade also frowned and astonished, "You got such a feeling too? What an ominous sign. I thought it was only I who had fallen into illusion. I too feel that something is staring at me, sending a chill down my back." Miao Wentong's face slightly changed. He immediately shifted his vision from the 2 men and turned to Tang Xiu with eyes full of admiration. It was definitely because of the invisibility charm. The one that was told in the legends. If he were to have this invisibility charm, he'd definitely have a lethal weapon for killing. In such a situation where nobody, not even the gods and ghosts, were unable to sense his presence, he could behead his enemy for sure. For a short while, the two men of the Lien family still kept looking around, but they couldn't find any abnormalities whatsoever. They just shook their heads and then headed towards the distance. Tang Xiu himself stood still in his current spot. He then looked at Miao Wenong smilingly and asked, "So, how do you feel?" I shuddered with fear at first, but then felt relieved when I realized that they truly can't see us, replied Miao Wenong with a smile. You're truly amazing, Brother Tang. If memory serves, the charm you placed on me outside the courtyard wall must be an invisibility charm, right?
Yeah.
I manufactured some invisibility charms before due to some special reasons. Tang Xiu nodded and explained, I never thought that it would show its uses during an investigation this time, though. Also, the prevention measures deployed by the Lien family is kinda tight. If it weren't for this invisibility charm, we couldn't have been so relaxed and easily snuck inside. Miao Wentong's turned bright and he asked eagerly, how many invisibility charms do you have now, Brother Tang? Can you sell me some of them? Tang Xiu's expression turned strange and he replied, I don't have many of them at hand as of now. Just some of them. Please state your price. I'll buy however many you have, said Miao Wenong straightforwardly. Just 3 yuan is enough. I'll sell them to you at 3 yuan each, replied Tang Xiu smilingly after he thought for a moment. Cough, cough. Miao Wenong let out a hollow cough and waved as he spoke again, I won't buy it, so I'll exchange them with some other items. I know that you've been searching for the 12 zodiac jade carvings recently. I just caught wind of one of them and am currently verifying it. I'll send it to you after I'm sure about it. For real? Tang Xiu was pleasantly surprised. For real? Miao Wenong nodded and said, but the other party is so difficult to deal with, so I'm afraid that it will take some time, though. Anyway, let's stop talking about that first. Since we have the invisibility charms, then we shall continue to go inside to find out the situation of this place. We gotta make sure what the hell is going on with the Liens tonight. Tang Xiu suppressed his excitement deep in his heart. He nodded and glanced towards the depths of the Lien family's manor interior. Then he said in a whisper, try not to make any sound as best as you can. Let's use hand signals when something happens. I have a hunch that the Lien family's manor is not as simple as it looks on the surface. I got you. Miao Wenong nodded firmly. Most of the area in front of the Lien family's manor was covered with lush trees, along with flowers, plants, rockery stones, and gazebos everywhere. But when Tang Xiu and Miao Wenong headed deeper into the interior and bypassed the fountain square in the center of the manor, they suddenly sensed a change in the atmosphere. The dark painted houses in front were all wooden and painted pitch black on the outside. In addition, be it the trees or the other buildings in the surroundings, they were all painted black as well. Even the ground was covered with black asphalt. There was no other color other than black, even if they observed carefully. This place is way too bizarre. Miao Wenong leaned over to Tang Xiu, who was carefully treading northward, as he said in a whisper. Tang Xiu squinted, as he could sense a faint surging diabolical energy. His body was also slightly shivering, driven by the impulse to immediately dash and smash something that was somewhere deep inside the Lien family's manor. Such an impulse was like a feeling of hunger, as though there was something deep inside the manor that attracted him. Suddenly, Miao Wenong grabbed his arm and whispered, Wait, Brother Tang. Don't you think this place is too strange? Ever since we passed through the fountain square, we haven't heard anything, nor seen anything move here, not even a living person. No, not only that. There's not even any living creatures such as chickens, dogs, ants, or anything else. Indeed. Tang Xiu nodded. How about withdrawing first, Brother Tang? Miao Wenong hesitantly said, I've started to have a feeling that there's something horrible waiting for us in front. It makes me feel restless. Tang Xiu shook his head and was about to speak when his expression slightly changed. He instantly grabbed Miao Wentong's hand and their figure disappeared into the corner of a building in but a moment. He clearly saw that a boy around 7 years old walked over from the north, smiling with a rope bouncing about in his hand under the cover of the dim night. Tang Xiu looked up and saw that the rope was connected to a kite flying dozens of meters high. That's strange. Has my hearing been impaired or something? Miao Wenong suddenly whispered with a voice that only the both of them could hear. Tang Xiu shot a deep look at the boy who was jumping and skipping about. The boy's mouth seemed to be shouting something, yet he felt just like Miao Wenong. He could tell that the boy was clearly shouting, but there was no sound coming from him. He was also jumping about, but there was no sound of his footsteps either. The surrounding area was as though in a deathly stillness, as though there was something wrong with their hearing. After a while, Tang Xiu retracted his gaze from the boy. He shook his head and said, "He's not a human being. He's a kind of apparition, a spiritual protoplasm." "What's a spiritual protoplasm?" asked Miao Wentong with a confused face. "It's a state of the soul, yet it's also a different kind of being altogether," said Tang Xiu. "A spiritual protoplasm is a kind of creature with a special constitution. If it's attached to a human being, it can be integrated into the human soul and replace it. That boy is probably possessed by the spiritual protoplasm, and it forcefully seized his body. I never expected the Lians to have such a thing. It seems that this family hides things well." Shortly after, the boy ran from their sight and disappeared at the other end of the pitch-black manor. After Tang Xiu and Miao Wenong came out from the corner, they ignored the spiritual protoplasm boy and walked slowly towards the deeper part of the villa. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu halted his pace at the crosswalk of the road to the manor. "What's up?" Miao Wentong asked curiously. He had looked around and found no traces of humans in the surroundings. "There's an array here," answered Tang Xiu. "The path ahead of us is blocked and is covered by an array. Unless we can crack the array formation silently and make a hole in it, it will be hard for us to not alarm the members of the Lian family if we want to go deeper." Miao Wentong looked eager and said, "I can't drill a hole through an array, though. I can only rely on you." He knew that Tang Xiu was well versed in arrays. Back when they adventured and braved dangers together, he had witnessed Tang Xiu arrange arrays, and he knew that the array Tang Xiu arranged then was terrifyingly mighty. Tang Xiu unleashed his spiritual sense to probe the fluctuating layer of energy in the air several times. He continuously released his primal chaos force and integrated it into the energy layer in front. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu suddenly opened his eyes and whispered, "Interesting. This is really interesting. Some people of Lian family unexpectedly have laid out an underworld grade array here. What do these people want to do, exactly? All the living beings inside the underworld grade array will be shrouded in the yin qi of the netherworld, gradually becoming the living dead." "Huh?" Miao Wentong was confused and asked, "What do you mean?" "There are things you don't understand yet, but I can tell you for sure." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "Those of the Lian family who have been living inside this array are no longer normal human beings. It's no wonder that I found that the dead bodies of those 2 Lian family's ancestors had a grim luster after I killed them. I didn't pay much attention to it back then. But now I think they have some force of the netherworld inside their bodies." Miao Wentong's expression suddenly changed and he asked in a whisper, "Could it be that they were cultivators with another kind of cultivation system? The likes of those ghost cultivators I once read in ancient records?" "Humph," hummed Tang Xiu coldly. "Ghost cultivators are living humans whose souls have been baptized with netherworld force after their deaths. They then practice the cultivation system from the ghost realm. They are the genuine ghost cultivators. Those humans who practice the cultivation technique will become neither human nor ghost, just half human and half ghost. Even if one can have a very long lifespan and a very formidable strength, that person will never have great accomplishments in the future." Miao seemed to be hazy with the explanation, he understood yet couldn't grasp it well. He continued questioning, so, what are we gonna do next? Can you crack this array? Tang Xiao let out a confident smile. He grabbed his hand and treaded forward instantly. After his footsteps traversed and changed directions a few times, they quickly appeared inside the underworld great array and a different scenery was presented before them. This is... Miao Wentong always thought that he had a lot of knowledge, yet, after seeing the scene inside the netherworld great array, his eyes turned into saucers and he couldn't help but gasp the cold air. Tang Xiao's brows, however, raised and he muttered, "There are altars here? What does the Lien family want to do by building so many altars?" "Brother Tang, I've seen such an altar somewhere in the Miao region." Miao Wentong whispered, "As far as I know, there's but a few of this type of altar in the entire Miao region. No more than 3 of them, I think. But here, there are dozens of them." Tang Xiao quickly glanced around and spoke again, "There are 49 altars altogether here, with a blood pool in front of each. Damn wretched evils. That should be humans' blood. How many people have been harmed by the Lien family to amass so much blood?" Chapter 9:18, The Biggest Reliance. After seeing the size of each of the blood pools, Tang Xiao could hardly imagine how many people needed to be hunted and killed to fill the 49 pools like these, especially considering how peaceful today's society was. From the looks of the pool's sizes, each of them would at least need 1,000 people's blood. 49 blood pools meant that it would need at least 50,000 or more people's blood. 50,000 people, for God's sake. How did the Lien family succeed in reaping the lives of 50,000 people? Tang Xiao hardly suppressed the killing intent that raged inside him. He instantly unleashed his perception to monitor the area covered by the underworld great array. To his surprise, there was a gateway inside a 7+ meters rockery which actually led to a subterranean open space. Huh? Through his perception, Tang Xiao was surprised to find that the underground had a 100 square meters wide hall with 3 corridors that extended to 49 secret rooms. At the moment, there was nobody inside the hall except for 2 of them, but the rest of Lien family's members were in other secret rooms, and they looked very old. In addition, there were also 3 old men sitting cross-legged on the futon in the wide hall. A dark mist could be seen constantly swirling around them, giving off an unspeakable bizarre feeling. I get it now. Tang Xiao inhaled deeply, yet the killing intent gleaming in his eyes turned more intense. He softly patted Miao Wentong's shoulder and turned back to the previous direction of where they came from. Miao Wentong looked doubtful and suspicious, yet he still caught up to Tang Xiao's side and asked, "What did you find you out, Brother Tang?" "I understand what the Lien family is doing now. I've figured out what they rely on the most," explained Tang Xiao. "There's something I have not yet clarified, though. As long as I can verify it, completely eradicating the Lien family is just a matter of time." "What exactly is it?" hurriedly asked Miao Wentong. Tang Xiao grabbed his shoulders and kept treading forward. After quickly leaving the underworld great array, only then did he release Miao Wentong and speak. "The Lien family's arrangement of the underworld great array acts as an array protective measure from the netherworld. But if it's augmented with a blood sacrifice and combined perfectly, it can be used to enhance the strength of ghost cultivators. I just saw through a rockery in there. There's a big open space underground with a channel to the underworld. It can continuously pull out the netherworld energy to help in tempering humans' body, making them much stronger." Miao Wentong was astonished and he asked again, "How could it be possible to have a link to the underworld? Isn't that a ridiculous fantasy? What's more, is there really an underworld in this world?" "There's no such plane in this world naturally since this world is of mortals," said Tang Xiao with a thin smile, "yet, the underworld does exist in higher planes. Of course, the Yama, or what people call the King of Hell in legend, is nothing but a story in myths, though there are also terrible existences that are similar to a King of Hell. They are the ones who control the 6th path of samsara and reincarnation, those who judge good and bad karma in death. They are also the ones who will decide the path of reincarnation through their judgment. Miao Wentong's lips squirmed a few times and he asked again, so, shortly put, I'd meet them if I were to die and go to hell? Others perhaps would. But for you, it will be very difficult. Tang Xiu shook his head. Then, could it be said that you can go to heaven without going to hell? Asked Miao Wentong with a pleasantly surprised expression. Tang Xiu couldn't help but burst into laughter. How and where is there any heaven in this world? That's only the place assumed to be existed by those Western people who believe in spiritual gods. If you died now, you would enter the underworld before heading to one of the 6 paths of samsara, and then be reincarnated again. But if you reach a certain level of strength in the future, once you die, you'll lose both shape and soul. Lose both shape and soul? Miao Wentong was horrified. Isn't that? Tang Xiu raised his hand to interrupt him and smilingly said, once people like us die, their soul will fly away and scatter into nothingness. Or they could seize their rebirth, or even turn into a soul cultivator. Yet, the ultimate goal is to make yourself stronger and stronger to finally shatter the shackle that binds us, then ascend to the immortal world. It seems like I must be extra careful in the future, otherwise, I might lose any chance to be reincarnated once both my body and soul get destroyed, said Miao Wentong cautiously with a heavy nod. Not really. Tang Xiu chuckled and continued, in a higher plane such as the immortal world, once those immortals died, they can still enter the 6 paths of samsara and be reincarnated or transmigrated. It's just that the lower and higher plane do not belong to the same wheel of reincarnation paths, nor is it the same for the underworld. In short, you'll understand all these when you can break through and become an immortal in the future. I tell you that there are too many things that you can't possibly understand as of now. How come there's a chance for me to break through the immortal realm? Miao Wentong self-deprecatingly mocked himself with a forced smile. Just becoming a nascent soul stage expert will definitely wake me up from a dream laughing. Tang Xiu just patted his shoulder in response and headed towards the outside. The duo came inside in leisure and was also able to leave easily. Without alarming anyone, they left the Lien family's manor silently and returned to the Miao family's manor at 2 a.m. At the back left of the artificial lake, inside a European-style villa, Shuiyu was sitting on the balcony, holding a cup of red wine while watching the swaying trees in the forest and the dark path there. You've come back? Suddenly, her stunningly beautiful face showed that she was pleasantly surprised. She put down her glass of wine and immediately ran toward the room, soon meeting Tang Xiu on the stairs on the first floor. How was it? Asked Shuiyu with a smile. She had been worried about Tang Xiu's safety, hence the restlessness inside her heart faded away upon seeing him return safely. Tang Xiu reached out to hug her slender waist and walk side by side to the second floor while speaking. It's almost clear that the core members of Lien family have already fallen onto the demonic path. From another perspective, we can say that they have fallen into the ghost path, and those kind of people are absolutely ruthless and cruel. We need to eradicate the Liens as soon as possible. The question is, can we easily eliminate them? Asked Shuiyu. It's hard to say, said Tang Xiu after he thought for a moment. Eradicating the members of the Lien family is an easy task, and so is breaking their wicked means and techniques. But what worries me the most now is that there's a deeper dimension involved within. For instance, some ghosts from the underworld. The Lien family is really connected to the underworld, interjected Shuiyu with astonishment. Also, you have mentioned to me the existence of the underworld, but is that place really the netherworld?
Yeah.
Tang Xiu nodded. So, what should we do next? Asked Shuiyu. We'll head to Kana's first, answered Tang Xiu. If we can crack the immortal trove in Longquan Bay, we'll take what's stored inside. But if we can't open it, then we'll come back immediately. We'll set 7 days as a limit. Regardless of whether we can succeed or not in the end, we'll come back right away. I'll assign Au to stay here and thoroughly dig up some intel on the Lien family. What other information do you still need? Asked Shuiyu with a confused face. Haven't you gotten the intel yourself tonight? What I want to know is whether there are other fiends or devils behind the lians, explained Tang Xiu. Or, whether their family members have a connection with the underworld. If there are indeed some devils involved, I don't have much concern even if they are very formidable. But if they are really connected to the underworld, then this matter will be quite tricky to deal with. Shuiyu slowly nodded and said, if so, could you inform someone from the Green Lake Agricola? After all, the Lian family's patriarch, their two ancestors, and more than 20 of their experts died there. I'm afraid that they will be in danger once the Lians send their men again over there, given that we can't solve this problem right now. Tang Xiu nodded and said, I'm going to meet Hansen tomorrow morning, so I'll send him back to Chang City by himself. As the next day came and the blob of a red glow rose from the east, Tang Xiu neatly dressed and went out of the villa. He then found Hansen sitting cross-legged at the edge of the woods dozens of meters away, and he immediately headed over. Boss. Hansen's injuries had not yet fully healed and he was only around 70% recovered. He learned how to address Tang Xiu from Mo's group and called out respectfully. Tang Xiu nodded to him and said, if my guess is correct, Song Donglai and Ao Wei should have broken through now and become qi refining stage cultivators. What do you think about that? A chilling aura exuded from Hansen's body, yet his expression was extraordinarily calm as he replied, my life is yours, boss. Just tell me everything that I must do. You want me to be a cultivator, then I'll become one. You want me to stay as I am now, then I'll have no complaints either. All right. Tang Xiu nodded and ordered, then off you go to Chang City. Tell Song Donglai and Ao Wei to burn down the Green Lake Agricola and erase their traces completely. Then, take them to Jingmen Island and directly head to the Everlasting Feast Hall's headquarters there. What do I do thereafter? Asked Hansen. Some people will naturally settle you down when you arrive there, said Tang Xiu. Also, someone will teach you an immortal cultivation technique and help you embark on the cultivation path. But keep in mind, you are an outer member of the Everlasting Feast Hall starting today. I know about the Everlasting Feast Hall, said Han Sr., I once tried to break through the array there. Too bad that I was only able to break 2 layers before I had to retreat. Tang Xiu let out a thin smile at his statement and said, what you know about the Everlasting Feast Hall isn't all they are. Just go ahead. You'll know what kind of existence the Everlasting Feast Hall is when you get there. Understood. Hansen nodded and left after cupping his fists. Tang Xiu looked at his back with a smile outlined on the corner of his lips. He found that Hansen had the suitable making and aptitude to be an assassin. He was cold in nature and always did his best to stop at nothing to achieve what he must do. He could do everything he could as long as he approved of the endeavor. But in the future, he needed to obey his orders. Tang Xiu had been considering taking him together to the immortal world and throwing him into the wild. There, he'd definitely transform into a terrifying Grim Reaper, a killing god in the immortal world. Shortly after, Tang Xiu summoned Mo and his group. He gave them his orders and watched them leave. He then walked alone to the outside of another villa not far away. You got up so early, brother Tang? Miao Wendong, who was practicing Tai Chi in the villa courtyard, immediately halted and greeted him with a smile after he saw Tang Xiu. Chapter 919, Acting as an Agent for Heaven. Tang Xiu looked at the spirited Miao Wendong and said, I'm going to delay the eradication operation of the Lian family for now, as I need to go to Kana's first. I should come back a week later after I've finished the matter there. I'll find ways to get rid of them by then. You want to go to Kana's? Miao Wendong was surprised and asked, what do you want to do there? Some trivial things, answered Tang Xiu with a faint smile. Seeing that Tang Xiu didn't want to explain it, Miao Wendong no longer asked, but nodded and said instead, I'll send some men to continue investigating the Lian family during the week you're gone, so as to provide you with as much help as possible. No need. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, leave them to Ao and his comrades. They'll be responsible for the intel, so your family doesn't need to be involved for the time being. The Lien family will certainly be seething in a rage after finding that their patriarch, 2 ancestors, and more than 20 elite experts have been killed. Any clues that they might discover at such a time would be very dangerous. Had we not investigated and found something last night, I'd perhaps proudly say that the Miao never would fear the Liens. But now, I realized that my family doesn't have what it takes to fight them. All right, I'll listen to you and hold back until we receive your next message, said Miao Wendong with a forced smile. Tang Shou nodded. Even he was wary of the Lien family now, let alone Miao Wenatang. If the Lien family were to find out that the Miao harbored some bad intentions towards them, they might vent their rage towards the Miao. Even the whole family may be massacred. Certainly, given Miao Wentong's strength, he would be able to kill a large number of the Lien family's experts easily. Yet, even a hungry tiger isn't able to fight against a pack of wolves. If those 40-plus ancestors of the Liens were to join hands, the probability that Miao Wendong would be able to escape unscathed was close to nil. As the afternoon came, Tang Shou and Shuiyu arrived at Kana's airport. They had contacted Jie Weili before, so the duo saw the man already waiting for them with arms folded not far away right after they came out of the airport. Yo, brother Tang. Jie Weili approached and called out. He was a bit surprised after seeing Shuiyu, but he was still warmly greeted. Tang Shou exchanged a hug with him and then smilingly said, I must trouble you this time, big brother Jie. By the way, this is my woman, Shuiyu. Shuiyu, this is a big brother of mine I told you about, Jie Weili. Big brother Jie Weili greeted Shuiyu smilingly with a nod. Jie Weili raised his thumb up to Tang Shou and praised, You're truly blessed, brother Tang. To think you can find and marry a stunning and beautiful goddess such as this Miss Shui. Anyway, the car is waiting outside, so shall we go now, or do you want to visit my place first? Or, do you have something else in mind? Just send us directly to that village in Longquan Bay, said Tang Shou. That's the reason we came here this time. I failed to open the Immortal trove back then, so I gotta try again this time to see what kind of treasures are stored inside it. Got no problem with that. Jie Weili chuckled. At Longquan Bay. After Jie Weili gave a ride to Tang Shou and Shuiyu to their destination, he didn't stay long as he was aware that some things were meant to be avoided. He just casually left the Wrangler Jeep for them and then left. At the entrance of the village not far away, Shuiyu asked, Is this the place where you had a battle back then? It seems like there are only a few people inhabiting this place. There aren't many locals indeed. But from my previous contact with them last time, I found these people here are very kind and easy to get along with. Alright, let's head there. I've rented a house here for a year, so we have the right to occupy it. Shuiyu smiled and nodded in response, then walked alongside Tang Shou to enter the village. Shortly after they entered, they saw an old man with a harpoon come out from the inside. The old man suddenly looked surprised when he saw Tang Shou. He looked hesitant for a moment before he ran over and asked, Aren't you Mr. Tang? You really got a good memory, Uncle Jia, replied Tang Shou with a smile. That's right. It's me. Uncle Jia turned to glance around the village twice before he hurriedly turned his head and said, Are there only 2 of you coming here, Mr. Tang? Did you bring the rest of your people like last time? They didn't come with me this time. Tang Shou was confused and asked, What exactly happened here for you to ask such a question, Uncle Jia? Uncle Jia forced a wry smile and said, Mr. Tang, I advise you not to go to the house you rented last time if you didn't bring those people with you. If anything, I still have an empty room in my place, so let's head to my home first. I'll tell my wife to clean up the room for you to stay in. Tang Shou realized that there was something wrong and asked, Exactly what happened here, Uncle Jia? A bunch of bad and rampant people came to the village in these past few months. Not only are they always bullying the people in our village, but they also have taken away and currently occupy the house you rented. You'd just invoke trouble if you were to rashly come over there, said Uncle Jia with a helpless expression. Having said that, he then pointed to Shuiyu and then shook his head. Coldness flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes, yet he let out a smile and said, "We're all reasonable people, plus I have rented that house, so I have the right to stay there. We are not people who bully others, but if they want to bully us, I'll never let them feel better doing that."
Ah.
That's right. Do you know the origin of these people? Just listen to me, will you? Uncle Jia waved and said, "You mustn't mess with them. They're drifting hunters from some other places." Hunters? Tang Xiu was confused. Uncle Jia, the hunters you just mentioned, are they the kind of illegal hunters, poachers who illegally hunt rare animals? Asked Shuiyu. You also know those kinds of people, lass, said Uncle Jia with amazement. You've guessed it right. There are a lot of precious animals near Longquan Bay, some of which are quite valuable, so they come here every few years and stay here for several months. Come on and head to my home, you two. There aren't many people coming this time, so the spare room in my house should be enough for you to rest in. Tang Xiu pondered for a moment and felt that there was no need to make things complicated. Since he could stay in Uncle Jia's home, then he might as well lodge there. In any case, they would only stop by for a few days before they entered the depth of Longquan Bay to open the Immortal Trove, to begin with. Hey, Fifth, get your ass moved fucking fast. The boss wants Xiaojiu liquor. If you can't buy it again, be warned that he'll skin you alive. I know, motherfucker. What a nuisance. What are you pushing me for? Even if this father had 3 legs, I still would have to run there, wouldn't I? 2 loud shouts were heard, followed by 2 strong big men who ran in tandem from the outside into the village. When the big man in front saw Tang Xiu and Shuiyu, however, he abruptly stopped his pace. His eyes widely stared at Shuiyu without blinking, looking like he was nearly drooling. What the fuck are you doing, Fifth? Why the hell aren't you running faster? Behind him was a bald man with a tattoo on his neck, who then cursed and slapped the head of the big man in front. The stocky man who was called Fifth pointed to Shuiyu and stutteringly said, "A beauty, such a beautiful woman, she's even more beautiful than those celebrities on TV." The bald man stared blankly and looked up to see Tang Xiu and Shuiyu. His eyes instantly glued on Shuiyu as he voraciously looked up and down her body. He gulped down and exclaimed, "Holy cow, who is this woman? She's so hot and so fucking beautiful." Shuiyu looked at them with obvious disgust and immediately reached out to grab Tang Xiu's hand. A cold light gleamed in Tang Xiu's eyes. He then turned to ask Uncle Jia, "Are they those hunters you told me about? Those rampant and wicked guys?" "Please don't speak carelessly, Mr. Tang. It will spell trouble," said Uncle Jia in a hurry. We can't afford to provoke these people. They have guns." Tang Xiu sneered and sternly yelled at the 2 stocky men who were staring at Shuiyu, "What the hell are you looking at? Look at her again and I'll gouge your eyes out. Scram and get the fuck out, else be careful, since I'll clean you up." Only then did the bald man's eyes leave from Shuiyu's body. As his eyes fell on Tang Xiu, he creased his brows and cursed, "From which stone did you come out from, punk? Careful with your shitty mouth or I'll trash you up." The big man who was called Fifth looked at Tang Xiu a few times and then pulled the bald man's hand, whispering some words to him. The duo then left without forgetting to shoot a threatening glare to Tang Xiu before they turned around and ran towards the village. After seeing the situation, Uncle Jia immediately said in a panic, "Mr. Tang, I advise you, please leave here quickly. Looking at those 2 bastards' drooling face, I'm sure they are harboring evil intentions. If you stay in the village, if they enact their evil plan, I'm afraid." "I suddenly have changed my mind, Uncle Jia," interrupted Tang Xiu. "These hunters are bad people, so I won't give them the house I already rented for free. Just go back to your home first. I'm going to see them." "Please don't, just stop, Mr. Tang," said Uncle Jia hurriedly. "Don't do it. Don't be tempted to act on impulse. As far as I know, those people not only kill rare animals but also dare to kill people. I heard that. I heard they killed people 2 years ago and also murdered some local policemen. They murdered policemen, yet nobody has caught them, asked Tang Xiu, confused. Who would dare apprehend them, said Uncle Jia with a forced smile. This region is vast and sparsely populated, and there's a lot of places for them to hide here, literally everywhere. Besides, these guys come and go without a trace. It's so easy for them to avoid the lawman's hunt. Since they even kill people, then I'll act as an agent to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens today, sneered Tang Xiu. Uncle Jia, please go back to your home first. I'll treat you to a drink tonight. Please don't show off, Mr. Tang, said Uncle Jia in a hurry. There are 7 or 8 of them, none of who are a good person. If you were to rashly see them, you'll be just like a meat bun fed to the dogs. You won't be able to come back, and also, if this lass follows you, I appreciate your kindness, Uncle Jia, but I apologize, waved Tang Xiu with a smile. Having said that, he pulled Shuiyu's hand and strode toward the direction of the house he had rented. He wouldn't have decided to go directly if it was just those 2 guys. But now, he obviously couldn't stand idly by. Even if he didn't want to bother with making trouble with these guys, it was highly likely that they would try to find him first and cause misfortune. Chapter 920, You Deserve to Die for Your Crimes. Tang Xiu grabbed Shuiyu's hand and walked confidently into the village. The house he rented was at the northern end of the village and was at a relatively remote location. Despite the fact that Uncle Jia shouted worriedly to call him back so many times, Tang Xiu didn't look back, nor did he stop. What do you want to do to them? Shuiyu didn't have the slightest sympathy for these hunters whatsoever. She was even disgusted by those 2 men whose eyes voraciously looked at her with perverted thoughts. Nevertheless, she didn't want to see Tang Xiu commit murder either, even if those people truly deserved it. The net of heaven is so vast. It may be loose, but it never misses anything, said Tang Xiu. Since those hunters are wicked people, then let them taste how evil the consequences for what they've done are. I won't kill them, yet I won't let them off scot-free either. The folks of this village are but good, ordinary people, so I'm going to give them a chance to make a meritorious deed. That would be for the best, then, said Shuiyu with a chuckle. As they came to a worn-out house, the faint smell of gunpowder wafted in the air and they could hear a hoarse cough come from the dilapidated house. 2 men with ugly and sullen faces leaned against the door, drowsing, whereas a hunchbacked middle-aged man was seen in the corner of the courtyard, stuffing the carcasses of several rare animals into sacks, and then threw them into the temporary wooden shed. Hey, second, I'm gonna kill the wild boar I hunted yesterday. We're gonna have wild pork stew tonight. The hunchbacked man went into the front door and kicked the drowsy big man on the left side. Got it, replied the big man on the left as he raised his head and looked up. Then he closed his eyes again. Boss. Several brothers. The baldy and the 5th strode fast into the house and shouted loudly. The hunchbacked middle-aged man turned his head and found them coming empty-handed. He immediately yelled angrily, What the fuck are you ghost howling for? Didn't I tell you to buy me some liquor? The 5th hurriedly said, We didn't have time to buy the wine, big brother. But we saw a truly beautiful woman here. She's really hot, so much hotter than the female stars we've seen on TV. I dare swear to heaven that you won't be able to blink when you see her. The baldy also nodded and said, The 5th brother said the truth and I dare to prove it. That woman, damn, be it her body, her looks, or her making, she's definitely top of the top. You won't find anyone like her among 10,000 others. Big brother, I've seen many women, but never once have I ever seen one as beautiful as her. Surprise flashed in the eyes of the hunchbacked middle-aged man. He may not bother to spare any attention had it been only one of them testifying about it. But since both of his brothers said so, that woman must definitely be a top product. How the hell does that have a thing to do with me? A cold light flashed in the hunchbacked middle-aged man's eyes, and he shouted in a grim voice, "We brothers are gathering here for money. You fucking hear that? If you wanna fuck women, go deal with your work and earn your money. But now, you gotta do your fucking job properly. Don't make new problems crop up and cause issues later." "But, big brother," stalled the baldy. The fifth raised his hand to interrupt him and quickly said, "We don't want to make more troubles, big brother. It's just that woman is like a celestial maiden. Just wait and see her for yourself. Your eyes will definitely be full of greed when you see her. Also, she's with a 20-something-year-old young man. He's extremely arrogant and even threatened us." Bang. The house's front door was kicked open and Tang Xiu pulled Shuiyu inside. He quickly glanced around and then sneered, "Yup, I'm really arrogant and I threatened you too. So what? You wanna seek revenge?" The fifth was dumbstruck. He never dreamed that this young man would dare to track him. Was this brat's brain broken or something? Wasn't he aware that he was like a sheep entering the tiger's mouth? The hunchbacked middle-aged man vigilantly observed Tang Xiu. But when his eyes fell on Shuiyu, he looked shocked all of a sudden. It took him a few seconds to wake up from his stunned state as he coldly hummed and said, "Who are you, mister? You dare kick the door, huh? You truly have some big balls." "You're not qualified to know who I am," said Tang Xiu apathetically. "Neither have you got the ability to judge how big my courage is. Now, you're either going to submit and will hold your head on the wall, or I'll trash you all up until you faint." The two sleepy big men next to the door got up at the same time. The man on left, whose body was very robust, cracked his neck. He made the crackling sounds with his clenched fist to bring out an intimidating sound, then glared at Tang Xiu with obvious killing intent. "Punk, your grandfather will kill you today and I'll have your woman." Slap. Tang Xiu's body flashed and appeared in front of him. With the sound of a loud slap in the face, the stalwart man was as though turning into a kite that snapped from the line, flying upside down through the house's door and falling heavily on the cold ground outside. "An expert?" The hunchbacked middle-aged man's pupils shrunk and his killing intent appeared indistinctly. He knew the strength of his second brother. Not even a very skilled martial artist would necessarily be able to fight him. He himself was just a half-step away from reaching the level of martial arts grandmaster, yet he couldn't catch how this young man moved and acted. "You're very strong." He quickly took out a pistol from his waist and quickly pulled the safety lock as he pointed its muzzle to Tang Xiu. "But I wanna know who's faster. You, or my bullet." The other stocky men also quickly rushed into the house. In just but a few seconds, they quickly grabbed firearms and air rifles and aimed at Tang Xiu one after another. Tang Xiu, however, turned his head to look at Shuiyu and asked with a faint smile, "Are you afraid?" Shuiyu showed no fear at all. There even was some pity in her eyes. She shook her head and smilingly said, "Those who are ignorant truly have nothing to fear. Instead of fear, I just feel pity for them. Do you sense it too? Their killing aura is so thick. Their hands should be stained with the blood and lives of more than 2 people.
Yeah.
Especially this humpbacked man." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "He has at least killed 10 lives and should have tortured his victims. Yet I'm rather surprised how come they still live to the present." "Please be a bit gentle to them," said Shuiyu. Tang Xiu let out a faint smile and looked at the grim and angry bunch of these mobs. Then his eyes fell on the hunchbacked middle-aged man, whose face was full of vigilance, and smilingly said, "My words are accurate, aren't they?" The hunchbacked middle-aged man's heart kept sinking. Although he and his brothers pointed their guns at Tang Xiu, he felt that this young man was too bizarre. He hesitated for a short while and asked again in a grim voice, "Who exactly are you, mister?" Tang Xiu waved and said, "You naturally can look at my ID card and know who I really am if you can kill me, but otherwise it is unnecessary for you to know who I am if you can't do so." "That's right, didn't you ask me which is faster between me and your bullet? Go try it." I'll stand here and won't move. You court your death. The big man who had just been slapped and sent flying by Tang Xiu hideously grinned. He aimed the cold muzzle of his gun at Tang Xiu's head and didn't hesitate in pulling the trigger. Bang. After the gunshot, however, the evil grin on his face froze. How can this be? Holy shit. Is he a man or a revenant? He caught the bullet empty-handed? Motherfucker. Am I going crazy or has this world gone nuts? Shit, he's too frightening. The hunchbacked middle-aged man's wrist shivered a few times and his finger that was ready on the trigger was pulled back in an instant. With a look of horror on his face, he paced back 2 steps and anxiously said, little brother, we're at fault before. We admit it. I am Western Humpback and all the friends on the road know me. We don't have any enmity whatsoever, so this is just a small misunderstanding caused by mistiming remarks. How about we drop everything that happened here today and we'll leave this place at once? Tang Xiu pinched the bullet and asked with a faint smile, if I hadn't caught the bullet just now, do you think you can easily ask to drop everything, huh? The hunchbacked middle-aged man fell into silence for a while and then slowly asked, then, how do you want it settled, mister? Tang Xiu threw away the pinched build and gently opened his hands as he smilingly said, no worries. Although I've killed many people, I don't want to commit a massacre today. You're gonna die for sure, but what should kill you must be the bullets from the cops. In a flash, 2 streaks of primal chaos force shot out from Tang Xiu's hands. It acted like invisible ropes that instantly tied down all the guns in the hands of the 7 men and took them away instantly. While Tang Xiu's figure was flashing lightning fast and constantly appeared in front of the 7 men. His fist sent punches to their bodies, causing them to fly upside down and backward. Cough, cough. Arg. Amid the shrill scream of pains, the 7 men heavily fell to the ground one after another. Tang Xiu walked over to the hunchbacked middle-aged man with both hands crossed behind his back. He then stepped on his head and said, Old Western Humpback, huh? You're so fucking funny. Just with your strength, you're very famous with all the brigands on the road? Is the Western region full of nobodies like you? The hunchbacked middle-aged man could only lay on the ground honestly, letting Tang Xiu step on his head without even an ounce of courage to struggle. He had met fierce people in the past and he even offended a martial arts grandmaster before. Yet he still managed to escape eventually. Where had he been trampled on like this? A monster. This young man is definitely a monster, or else, how can a normal person possess such a frightening power? Tang Xiu shook his head and kicked his head until he got dizzy. Then he kicked him again several times before he finally came to the side of the big man who was called the 5th. He squatted down and patted his cheek, smilingly speaking, Don't pretend to be dead, will you? I may just hit them hard, but I could have some reservations about you. Please spare me, don't kill me. The 5th struggled to sit up from the ground, begging for mercy with a face full of fear. If you can answer my questions, you have my word that I'll never kill you, said Tang Xiu with a smile. I won't even make you crippled. Please do ask, said the 5th with eager eyes. I want to know what you've whispered to that baldy back when you both in the village, and why did you both give up buying wine and run back directly, asked Tang Xiu. Don't lie to me, else this bullet will burst and strike your head. The blood on the 5th's face instantly receded and his face turned ghastly pale. Then he stutteringly answered, yes, that was. I said to look for our brothers, to find the way to kill you, and then we, brothers, will enjoy your woman together. Smack. Tang Xiu stunned him with a punch and then stepped on his legs. He then took out his mobile phone and dialed the 110 emergency number to call the police.